And welcome back once again to the Shadow Gallery. I, as I am always, your host, James Donnelly. And check your watches because you know what time it is? It's time for new comics, bitches! So, let's jump right into it. Okay, there was some really good stuff this week, and one not so good thing. But pretty much everything else was at least pretty good to very good. So let's start with the not so good. Brightest Day, The Aftermath, #1. This is the story of essentially for those who were reading Brightest Day and followed all the way through to the end. You saw in the final issue, you saw Swamp Thing kind of bond together once again with Alec Holland, and become kind of the protector of the Earth, as he was kind of destined to be back when Alan Moore was writing him. And, of course, the person that you saw on the last page of that issue was John Constantine. Now, normally when people think John Constantine, they don't think regular DC Universe. They think Vertigo. And that is absolutely where John Constantine should have stayed. I don't mind Swamp Thing being brought into the DCU proper, but John Constantine does not belong there. I admire the effort that the writer, whose name I can't remember because I don't actually have this issue with me, because I was really skeptical about buying it, so I had one of my friends here lend it to me, because he does work for a comic book store, so he can pretty much get anything. Yeah, it didn't work. I'm just going to put it to you that way. Art's good, but it's a little too, when I think of John Constantine and Swamp Thing, I think of people like Stephen Bissette or John Totleben, people who worked with Alan Moore during Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing, which is some of the best comics you'll ever see. And this is kind of trading up, or kind of trading down, I should say. The quality of the writing is very kind of par for a kind of a one-off idea on the DC Universe, which because won't matter in a couple months anyway, since almost everything is going to be rebooted. I did appreciate the scene where because John Constantine and Batman had met briefly, and of course Bruce Wayne Batman had fought Swamp Thing back in Alan Moore's run, where there's a great arc in which I'm not going to get too much into now, but basically Swamp Thing kind of takes over Gotham, and certainly not without good reason. So the moment that Constantine and Batman have between the two of them, that John Constantine kind of recognizes that this is not the same Batman that was dealt with before, because this is the Dick Grayson Batman, which I'm not sure why they decided to go that way, because Bruce Wayne is alive here, and maybe he would appear in future issues. Maybe the Bruce Wayne Batman will appear in future issues. I don't know. Frankly, I don't care. I was kind of looking forward to this more as a curiosity, but it just doesn't work. So, thumbs down. Anyway, Flashpoint tie-in of the week, which is Reverse Flash, the one-shot for Reverse Flash. So this is Eobard Thawne. This is his story. it's not really telling much other than kind of a retelling of the Flash Rebirth story, even though it's written by Scott Kolins, or Collins, however you pronounce his name, who obviously, you know, he's worked with the Flash and worked on him. So it was pretty good. You know, it was decent. It was nice. You know, some interesting takes on Thawne's story. And how he looks at, and this is what makes Eobard Thawne a good villain, as opposed to the Hunter Zolomon Reverse Flash, is that he really believes that the Flash, that Barry Allen, is the villain and not himself. He believes that he's doing the good thing, he's doing the right thing. That by having the Flash cease to exist, that's the right thing to do. He sees Barry Allen as the monster. Because it's good to have a character that knows that they're doing evil things, but believes that they're doing it for the right reasons. That's a good villain, in my opinion. It's like, you know, and that's kind of one of the things that really struck me when I was listening to. For the film Serenity, you know, the big screen version of Firefly, of Joss Whedon's Firefly, when Whedon was talking about the character of the Operative, you know, he looked at him as a really good villain because he's a villain that, you know, he knows that he's doing these evil things, that he's kind of a monster, but he's doing them for all, you know, what he believes to be absolutely right reasons. He's not just being evil to be evil, you know, which is the road that a lot of villains go down, is that, like, oh, I'm evil, look at me, I'm doing all of these evil things. So that's kind of cool. So that was a pretty good issue. Okay, so going forward from there, we've got Captain America 619. Wow. And obviously an interesting bit of framing here. It's kind of a lame cover, in my opinion, but it does explain a lot of what's going on in the book, because you have, you know, this is basically where, you know, neither of these men, as you can see, both, you know, both Steve and Bucky, are in the Captain America suit. Both of them rather actually conspicuously out of it. I just don't care for the art. I think the structure of the cover is really telling, because they're both Captain America, yet they're both not. So we've got, and, you know, in the first, you know, for the first time over the last 3 issues, all of the, you know, the kind of the B and C stories tie into the A story, which is, you know, the A story being that, okay, well, you know, Bucky's in the Russian Gulag, and the B story is, you know, Black Widow is trying to find out, you know, is trying to uncover proof that this is all kind of an elaborate scheme, elaborate setup. And then you got the C story, which is Steve Rogers also trying to find out, well, what the hell is going on with these, you know, these attackers who are trying to attack, you know, like Henry Peter Gyrich, and you know, why do they keep ending up dead? And it all finally ties together. And the place it goes is pretty much what you'd expect for Cap, particularly Bucky Cap, and with the series that they have coming out, the Captain America series that Brubaker's doing with Steve McNiven, which I can't wait for, because that's, I mean, if nothing else, it looks awesome. But it's going to be written awesome because it's fucking Ed Brubaker. And he ties everything together really, really nicely. It's not like there aren't an absence of loose ends, so it's not like it's all a neat and tidy little package, but it's still very exciting, and it's making you look forward to what's going to happen next. Although, you know, obviously if you've read Fear Itself #3, you kind of have an idea of what's coming next, which is that Bucky is more than likely dead. and that Steve will once again take up the mantle of being Captain America. For those of you who have not checked out, I have more thoughts on that on my Captain America and Batman, the individual vlog that I did about a month ago. Because of this, the whole kind of sidekick becoming, the hero, and then now is, returning to sidekick mode. So I urge you to check that out if you haven't. But anyway, really good issue, really strong. Stronger than the last couple of issues, where the B and C stories were much more captivating than the A story. So this again ties them all together. So on to Batman: Gates of Gotham #2, done by Scott Snyder, Kyle Higgins, doing the story and the writing. Really, I mean, the whole delving into the history of Gotham City is becoming, it was really absorbing to begin with, but this issue just, I mean, it pulls you right in, because you've got so many details. But I think my favorite part of the whole comic is the interaction between Damian and Cassandra Cain, because obviously they come from somewhat similar backgrounds. They're both trained by the League of Assassins, it's just, I mean, that's good stuff. But I mean, also to find out, this different history about the the three kind of founding families of Gotham were the Waynes, the Elliots, and the Cobblepots, which I thought it would be the Canes, because there's supposed to be some information there as well that that the Cain family was somehow involved, and that may prove to be the case. But of course, it seems that that Hush has a lot more answers than you would hope that he would, because I don't like Hush. Hush is a real dick. He's gotten a lot cooler as a character since his inception when Jeff Loeb was writing the character, because I've said many times, I think Jeff Loeb is a very mediocre writer. When he's good, he's okay. When he's bad, he's just awful. So, but Hush, since people like Paul Dini and now Scott Snyder writing him, has gotten so much stronger, so much better. Again, Gates of Gotham, really excellent reading, excellent art. It's always interesting to see what Scott Snyder is going to come up with. Out of all of the rebooted titles that are coming in September, pretty much the only ones that I'm even looking forward to are Scott Snyder's Batman, Scott Snyder's Swamp Thing, and Gail Simone's Fury of Firestorm, or just Firestorm, whatever it's going to be called, and Gail Simone's Batgirl. Everything else can go fuck itself, almost, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just looking at some of these comics, looking at the art. There's a great, if you don't know the website comicsalliance.com, there's a great almost this faux fashion show that they did for the rebooted costumes, and it's so dead on awesome. I mean, it's what they're doing with the redesigns of some of these characters, particularly characters like Harley Quinn and Superman, and it's just fucking hilarious. Go to comicsalliance.com so you can check, look for this story, because I'm sure it's up there, because it's pretty recent. But anyway, so we're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back with part 2. And so stick around. We'll be right back.